What's going on, Tamers? It's me, a guy with the certified worst pulls for BT11 dimensional phase that could have ever existed. For folks who don't know, what I'm referring to is the fact that I got 6 copies of Galacticmon or Ragnamon, whichever one you want to call him.
Dog shit pulls.
And you know, it was considered one of the cheapest secret rares to ever be released in the game, which that combined with the fact that I got 0 copies of Arena, it stings pretty bad. So I'm pretty sure I can officially slap on that seal of like worst pulls ever. But that means that I was almost guaranteed, like fated, to build a Galacticmon deck. And so that's exactly what I did. But surprisingly, when I took it to locals and I played a couple games with it, it performed better than I thought. So combining the fact that the results for this deck were, again, pretty decent, and you know, a bunch of you folks in the comments from our other videos were asking me about this deck's build and a deck profile on it, I figured, you know, sure, why not? So today we're going to do a really quick deck profile on BT11's Galacticmon. So really quickly hopping into the deck cam here. For the eggs, first up, we're going to have 4 copies of BT7's Digimon. You're probably wondering, East, why are you running an X-Antibody Digitama in this deck? That's because Dorimon's effect says that, hey, no matter how you put a card in this card sources, as long as you put one in there, you can draw a card. And because literally, like, every card in this deck, or almost every card in this deck, does exactly that, this card slots in pretty well. So the level 3s for this deck are very simple. It's literally just one card, and that's going to be 24 copies, you heard it here, 24 copies of BT11's Vemmon. He is the engine of the deck. You get to play him, and then main effect every turn, you can rest him, and you can look for the top 3 cards, grab 1 card from the Snatchmon, Destromon, Ragnamon, or Fusionize option card lineup, and then take a Vemmon also and put him up under him as a source. Later on, once you Digivolve over this guy, you can use his ability in Inheritance to reduce his Digivolution costs by 1 when you're going into your level 5 or your level 6. Next up for your level 4s, you're only going to run 4 level 4s in this entire deck, and it's going to be 4 copies of, you guessed it, Snatchmon from the same Vemmon line, again from the BT11 set. On Digivolve, he allows you to take 2 Vemmons from your trash, put them up under him as a source, and then if you have 4, you can return a Fusionize from your trash to your hand. Fusionize is the option card that goes along with this, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then his Inheritance effect activates whenever you would take Vemmon from your sources and put them at the bottom of your deck. He becomes active again and then gains blocker for the turn. Alright, moving up the chain, we're going to take a look at our level 5s. It's going to be 4 copies of Destromon. So again, fits in the Vemmon line for BT11. On Digivolve, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck. From them, you take a Vemmon, put them up under your sources, and then throw the rest in the trash. And then after that, if you've got 5 Vemmon in your sources or more, you can destroy one of your opponent's Tamers. It's not Hades Force, but it's good enough. And then additionally, in Inheritance, once per turn, anytime an attack is made, you can take 2 Vemmon from your sources and then toss them to the bottom of your deck and then redirect that attack towards this Digimon. Alright, so taking a look at the actual level 6s and the boss monster for the deck, it's going to be 4 copies of Ragnamon, or in English I think it's Galacticmon. So on Digivolve, he takes 4 of your Vemmons from your trash and then puts them up under him as a source, and if you have 8 or more, then you can destroy one of your opponent's Digimon on the board outright, just destroy something. Additionally, anytime he would be removed from the board, for whatever reason, this includes things like putting him in security from the board, putting him back to the deck, to the hand, being destroyed by effects, or even being placed up under other Digimon. I'm looking at you, Vagar Army. He can take 4 Vemmon in his sources and put them at the bottom of the deck, and he is not removed. And then at the start of your main phase, every single turn, with him on the board, you get to discard the top card of your opponent's security. Alright, so I actually include 2 more Digimon in this deck that are not within the Vemmon line. That's going to be, budget players beware, Deathexmon or Dexmon in Japanese. 2 copies of this guy because sometimes you just need to control out the board. One way, in my opinion, to beat this deck is to go really wide, really fast, and Dexmon stops that. He's the check there. Again, this is the post-BT9 meta, and so Dexmon, pretty much in every deck, you can slot 1 or 2 in. So taking a look at our option cards, first up we're going to have 4 copies of BT7's Pride Memory Boost. This card sometimes I feel like was made specifically for this deck. It slots in so well. Being able to give you Vemmon on the board, Vemmon in the trash, as well as giving you that +2 memory you're going to need for those turns where you really want to go off. Next up we have 4 copies of the card that I've mentioned before from the actual Vemmon line. That's going to be the 1-cost Fusionize option card. If you have a Snatchmon on the board, this is cost -1, so Snatchmon makes this a 0-cost card, which is fantastic. Additionally, you can take a Vemmon or a Destromon from your trash and put it up under one of your Digimon as a source, and by doing that, you then have the ability to evolve from your trash into a Destromon or a Ragnamon or a Galacticmon. So if you ended up milling one of these 2 cards because of your Prime Memory Boost we just spent, then Fusionize allows you to Digivolve from the trash straight to there. And then if this card is checked in security, it allows you to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, grab a Venmon, put it into play for free, and then discard the rest. It's kind of like a, baby Prime Memory boost. And the last 2 option cards for the deck is actually going to be 2 copies of BT5's Ultimate Flare. Now, you can swap this out for something like an Iron Fisted Onslaught if you want, or, DG Dimension, whatever you'd like. But in my opinion, I like De-Digivolving. I think it's a very strong effect in the current metagame, especially for Disruption. And then the added bonus of being able to take out all the cost trees on the board, on your opponent's side anyway, is really, really strong in my opinion. So it gets rid of all the weenies. It really forces your opponent to spend more resources and find more cards to go back up the chain for that Digimon. And I think that gives me the time that I need to build up into my Ragnar Galacticmon to finish the game out. So this deck doesn't run too many Tamers, but it does run 2 copies of BT2's TIE Tamer. We're taking it way back here. Being able to start every single turn with 3 memory, and then on your opponent's turn, your Digimon will gain 1000 DP. Again, it's not super powerful, doesn't really boost the deck very much, but that plus 1000 does put your Ragnamon on 15k, which makes him really annoying to remove for a lot of Digimon. It puts some of your other guys like the Destromon at 11k, which I think is an important stat line, and also makes your Dexmon 16k. In my honest opinion, the deck doesn't really need Tamers per se, but this is like a way to give yourself memory to work with every single turn, which I think is always good to have just in case, right? But as you can see, building the deck is not exactly rocket science. It's pretty straightforward. So let's talk a little bit about the strategy that involved in playing it. For me personally, and again, this is my personal strategy, what I like to do is I like to go very early on in the game and get out at least 2 copies of Venmons. Digivolve in Raising, and then play 1 out immediately. Now the following turn, if they're both alive, I'm going to promote him, and I'm just going to rest both of them to get their effect to find 2 more Venmon from the deck. So it's going to allow me to put 1 here, and then it's going to allow me to put 1 here. Doraemon's effect is going to activate. I'm going to get an extra card draw that turn as well. Now I've got 4 Venmon in play, and this is really the number that I want to get at. Once I have 4 Venmon in play, if both of these guys somehow survive the following turn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this one into security, try to keep this one around if I can, rest it to get 1 more Venmon from the deck, and then all the while, remember Venmon's effect also allows you to pull a card from his line, so you're going to be searching for these cards as well. However, the most important one in my opinion is going to be the Snatchmon. Snatchmon is really going to allow you to turbo and get to your level 5s and 6 very cheaply and very quickly. So what does this look like? It actually allows you to Digivolve into the Snatchmon here and then take 2 Venmon from your trash that attacked before and put them up under him as a source. So now you've got, 4 to 5 copies of a Venmon in your sources, and that's when his second effect activates, allowing you to get a Fusion Eyes from your trash. So if at all during this time you've ended up playing a Pyre Memory boost and you trash the Fusion Eyes, you get it back. And then again, because you have a Snatchmon on the board, your Fusion Eyes gets its cost reduced by 1, which means it's a 0 cost option card, which allows you to get another copy of a Venmon in your sources. Now that you've got like 6 copies of Venmon in your sources, you can either Digivolve into Destromon for what would typically be 5. However, remember, the Venmon's ability allows you to reduce the Digivolve cost by 1, and because you've got a ton already in here, this is going to become a 0 cost Digivolve. Or if you're really not interested in the Destromon, you don't need to destroy any Tamers on board, and you don't really care about his effect of being able to redirect attacks, you can go straight into the Ragnamon or Galacticmon for a kind of heavy cost of 9. But again, because you have like 6 copies of Venmons already in your sources, it doesn't really matter that much. Keep in mind that you want to have at least 2 more copies of the Venmon in your trash because he allows you to take 4 from your trash total and put them up under his source. And those are going to be used as ways to keep him alive longer and longer in the game, being able to remove 4 of those Venmon whenever he would be taken off the field, and then he's just not taken off the field at all. You can either use your Fusion Eyes immediately, or you can hold on to them for like a rainy day. Let's imagine that the game is going pretty well for you in the early game, and you're like, I don't really need the Fusion Eyes option right now. I can just Digivolve into my, Snatchmon, Destromon, Ragnamon, and just have all their effects based off of the amount of Venmon I already have. That's fine. And, later on in the game, if this gets destroyed, and you need to build up another one, you can quickly get there by using this Fusion Eyes you've held on to during the course of the game. So now let's talk a little bit about the Prime Memory Boost and the TIE Tamer. So you'll notice that getting from Venmon to Snatchmon costs 3 memory. There's no way to get around this. There's no way to cheat it out. You have to have 3 memory during the turn to actually make this big play. So what you're going to want to do is find the TIE Tamer or find the Prime Memory Boost and get them down quickly so that even if your opponent's trying to choke you out, what you can do is, even if they give you 1 memory, you can get the Prime Memory Boost active, use this delay effect to gain 2 memory, go to 3, and then make this big turn play with Snatchmon. And then potentially go into a Destromon or, a Ragnamon if you want. And then once you have finally gotten to your Destromon and then later on into your Ragnar and Galacticmon, you can really slow down the pace of the game for your opponent. What you can do is you can slowly whittle away their security using Ragnamon's effect, being able to just discard one every single turn. And then additionally, you can redirect attacks into him, and then you can basically give him blocker, make him reactive again so he can block attacks, make him safer if you want to just keep him around. And then once you have your Ragnamon on the board, just really dictating the pace of the game, you can use other Venmon to just go and swing into security, or you can just really control out and whittle your opponent down and use cards like Dexmon as well as Ultimate Flare to just really hamper your opponent's game plan as much as possible. And so that's really the game plan of the deck. Get to your Ragnamon as quickly as possible, start dictating the flow of the game, use cards like Dexmon and Ultimate Flare to really control things out and make it harder for your opponent to get to where they want to be, and then use cards like Tai and your Prime Memory Boost to really make those big turn plays later on with using your Snatchmon. And so that's going to be BT11's Ragnamon or Galacticmon, whichever you choose. The deck is really easy to pilot, it's really easy to build. You just got to get all the pieces, and if you really want like the highest version of the deck, I really recommend you go for the Dexmon if you can, if you have a couple of Dexmon just sitting around, or you opt to just go and get a couple. I really think they're going to pay off in spades again. Fantastic card that I think is going to be used until they ban it, to be honest. And so that's going to be it for this one, folks. Thanks again for watching. Let me know in the comments, were there any other cards that you guys would slot in or slot out? Do you think the 24 is the right number of Venmon to run? I've seen a couple of this run like 21, but I think that's way too little. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Before you guys get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.